After the male lead went bankrupt, I followed him into living in the basement, struggling financially. Life was tough, yet he had to support me, this vicious and spoiled wife. The system required me to maintain my character, but my sense of morality is too strong. I feel guilty whenever I do something bad, so every time I bully the male lead, I secretly shed tears. In the middle of the night, I quietly sneak into the male lead's room and lift up his sleeve, a wound nearly 10 centimeters long. Horrifying and grotesque, that was something I forced him to buy, so he worked tirelessly to earn money to afford it. As I applied medicine to the wound, tears streamed down my face. System, when will he ever bring up the divorce with me? I don't want to do bad things anymore, and I don't want the male lead to get hurt. The system glanced at the arm of the male lead, wet from my tears, then looked at his slightly trembling eyelashes and sighed. Still talking about divorce. He's going to love you for a lifetime now. Luckily, it wasn't picked up by someone else. Look, I told you it's beautiful, and the bow is tied so nicely. It was already 10 o'clock at night. I stood under the streetlight, holding the flower I had just picked up, my voice full of delight. The system's response to me was just a cold laugh. A rose for 5 yuan, a jasmine for 8, and this 10 yuan wrapping, a cheap item that costs no more than 100 yuan. And it's worth sneaking down in the middle of the night to rummage through trash cans. You might as well live in the trash cans. I remained silent for a while before whispering, System, you're really harsh with your words. The system let out another cold laugh, but in truth, I didn't have much confidence in what I said, especially since not long ago, I had said equally harsh words to Zhou Qi. I had thrown the flowers down on the ground right in front of him. The male lead bent down to pick it up, but I snapped at him again. Everyone else gives 999 roses, but what about you? If you don't have money, don't bother trying to give gifts like everyone else. It's ugly and gets in the way. It's so embarrassing. Can't you make more money, being this poor? Marrying you is truly a curse for 8 lifetimes. In fact, it wasn't just flowers. There was also a box of fresh strawberries. It was issued when the leader inspected the construction site. Zhou Qi didn't eat it but took it home instead. The system rolled its eyes, showing particular disdain for my quiet act of picking up the flowers. Can you stop caring about these meaningless things? Maintain your character. You're a ruthless and vicious female antagonist whose only role is to humiliate the male lead. I'm really fed up with your stupid behavior. It spoke irritably, urging me to return. I pretended not to hear and crouched down, carefully moving closer. Only after pressing the jasmine flower into a bookmark did I slowly make my way back. The strawberries I couldn't bear to eat. The flowers I went out of my way to buy, these trivial things despised by the system. If they held no meaning, what is truly meaningful? Next task, force the male lead to buy you a coat before Christmas. And this was the system's response. Zhou Qi, at this moment, was rarely done with work early. He was standing on a stool, fixing a broken light bulb. The house was old, and the wiring was faulty, constantly breaking down despite repairs. I bought a small table lamp. Every day before I leave, I charge it fully. If the light goes out again, don't touch it. Just turn on the table lamp and wait for me to come home. I held a cup of hot orange juice, my face fair and delicate, standing softly behind Zhou Qi, and Zhou Qi, whose once pampered fingers were now covered in grime, had tiny wounds gradually spreading across his palm. After mumbling for a long time, I finally uttered the predetermined line, Christmas is here, and you absolutely have to buy me an expensive coat so I can dress up properly. Otherwise, how can I enjoy Christmas properly? I showed him a screenshot on my phone, pretending to be fierce. This one, you must buy it for me. If you can't get it, you worthless piece of trash, don't even think about coming home. Zhou Qi washed his hands clean before walking over to take the phone. He looked at it for a long time before raising his head, his tone giving away no emotion, only this one. At the same time, the system's sharp alarm sounded. Damn, 800 bucks. Are you out of your mind? Where did you even find this coat at that price? The brand specified by the plot was too expensive. Luckily, I was smart and went to the seafood market, as expected. Someone was selling a 4,000 yuan coat at a steep discount, just 800 yuan, and it even came with free shipping. Dropping the price to 800 yuan would allow Zhou Qi to work fewer days and sweat less. Just this one, Zhou Qi asked again. It was much later that I came to understand what those complex emotions in Zhou Qi's eyes meant. Once, 800 yuan couldn't buy a single button from his clothes, but for me, squeezed with him in a shabby basement, it was a luxurious coat full of hope. Something I could dress up in. When he was at his peak, I received no gifts, yet when he fell into hardship, I endured all the suffering with him. At that time, I didn't understand. I thought he felt the price was too high and that he was being too harsh. When people are ashamed, they tend to speak without thinking. Oh, well, I'll go negotiate the price again. Maybe it won't cost $800. I almost forgot to maintain my persona. My mind consumed only by the thought of bargaining and fear. Suddenly, my palm felt empty. Zhou had warmed the orange juice again and handed it back to me. Lipstick, hat, hairband, Christmas tree, safe apple, little cake. Outside, the cold wind howled, but inside the small house, there was a sense of peace. I was half asleep and found myself guided to sit on the sofa. Zhou crouched down, and I met a pair of dark, beautiful eyes. And these are needed to have a proper Christmas. He said. Zhou is a man of his word. The day before Christmas, I received this expected gift, the well-tailored design, soft fabric, and vibrant colors. The system breathed a sigh of relief. Almost got you there, but luckily the male lead bought it from a mall. Haha, didn't expect the male lead to have a cleanliness obsession, did you? Who would buy second-hand clothes that someone else has worn? Only someone whose brain has been kicked by a donkey, the system mocked mercilessly. But I didn't pay it any mind. You said it was bought from a mall. After Zhou went bankrupt, he was targeted by his former competitors. He couldn't get into a big company, nor could he find a decent job. He could only go to construction sites, warehouses, or docks, doing some physically demanding daily wage work. And I, his spoiled and vain wife, would immediately squander his hard-earned money as soon as I got it. I pursed my lips. 4,000 yuan. Where did he get that money? Soon, I found out where this money came from. Someone posted a photo online, and because the person in the photo was exceptionally good-looking, it quickly gained some attention. The window cleaner our neighborhood property management hired. Handsome, isn't he? Wow, I want a handsome guy to come to my door too. Ahem, I mean, why doesn't our property management offer window cleaning services? Negative review. I live in the same community. The person upstairs is really inconsiderate. They put a flower pot outside the window, and it fell and hit the young man. There was such a long gash, and blood just spurted out. It scared me to death. Exactly, the young man has a good temper. He only asked for compensation privately. If it were me, I'd definitely expose them and let the internet see what kind of inconsiderate neighbor they are. That night, I quietly sneaked into Zhou room. The room was actually just a folding bed set up in the corner of the living room, separated by a makeshift curtain. Another one of my misdeeds, occupying the bedroom and barring Zhou from entering. Lifting the sleeve revealed a wound nearly 10 centimeters long, gruesome and terrifying, hanging precariously at the height of the 26th floor. He clung to the windowsill outside, clinging to just a single rope, descending from above, facing the scrutinizing gazes of others. Cleaning windows house by house. Zhou, did you already have it planned back then to buy that coat at the mall? You got hurt and didn't even tell me. The wound had only been hastily treated, and Zhou acted as if nothing had happened. At dinner, Zhou handed me an apple to eat, but unlike usual, he didn't peel it. He said, a piece apple must be eaten with the skin on, only then will the piece you seek be complete. It wasn't that he couldn't peel it, but that he was injured on his left hand, so I couldn't pick up the knife, so I concocted a clumsy lie. And this lie only fooled the foolish and malicious me. As I applied medicine to the wound, I gently brushed over the scar that remained on Zhou wrist. This one was because I had a fever and needed to see a doctor, so I went to the construction site to move bricks, and I got cut by a tool due to my inexperience. This scar was from when I forced him to buy a gold necklace. And he went to fight for someone, getting hit on the left shoulder with a steel rod, and this one, that one, I tried to control my emotions, but the more I tried, the more tears fell. The system tried to comfort me. Stop crying. If you ask me, you're the unlucky one. If you had married him a year ago, you could have been a rich madam, with dowry gifts worth several buildings. But now, you got nothing, just a basement. What's a few bucks to him? I should blame Zhou. Blame him for going bankrupt. Blame him for being poor. Blame him for not being able to give me a good life. But what about Zhou, once a proud son of heaven, now fallen into the mud, mocked, humiliated, enduring all kinds of strange gazes, toiling under the scorching sun? Upon returning, came the pampered accusations from his wife. You useless wretch, such a failure, you can't even buy me jewelry. If I were you, I'd have already banged my head against a wall and died. In the silent depths of the night, Zhou Qi, you gaze at the old, damp ceiling. Do you recall, from a year ago, the spirited and promising self you once were? Outside, the wind howled bleakly. Inside, the person lying down had slightly trembling eyelashes. I pressed my cheek against Zhou Qi's palm, and my tears slowly soaked his wrist. System, when will Zhou Qi bring up the divorce to me? I don't want to do bad things anymore. Nor do I want to bully the male lead. This Christmas Eve was dark. And the peace fruit was bitter. If we could get a divorce, would Zhou Qi no longer need to work himself to the bone, no longer have to work 3 jobs a day? Will I no longer get hurt? I was still pondering this question over breakfast the next morning. The system was vague, only saying that the plot hadn't reached that point yet. It always does that. He's sharp when scolding me but pretends to be dead when it comes to crucial matters. I stirred the millet porridge absent-mindedly. Coat, lipstick, hat, hairband. Zhou Qi has given me so many gifts, I should give him some too. What should I give? And what reason should I use to give it? We should get divorced, and we should make amends before the divorce. Otherwise, giving gifts after the divorce might seem strange, right? And when exactly are we getting divorced? Zhou Qi had somehow made his way to my side without my noticing. What are you thinking about? The porridge has gone cold. I was spacing out, and before my brain could catch up, I unconsciously blurted out my true thoughts. I was wondering when I can get a divorce with you. As soon as the words left my mouth, my heart skipped a beat. Fortunately, the light bulb went out again with a loud crackle, just in time to cover up my voice. It also gave me a convenient excuse. Feeling guilty, I started rambling aimlessly. This light is so annoying. Last time it broke, it kept flickering, scaring me all day long. Zhou Qi went to fix the light bulb again. He probably didn't hear that sentence, and after fixing it, he didn't bring up the matter again. After hastily finishing dinner, he went out to work again. It was very late when I returned, and the sky was completely dark. He had been like this lately, leaving earlier and earlier, but returning later and later. I found a new place. I'll be moving tomorrow afternoon. Zhou Qi's voice was calm as he looked at me. It's a very spacious house, with large windows in both the living room and the bedroom. Unlike this basement, which is dark and damp, even during the day, the lights need to be on, making me constantly anxious about the bulb burning out. The system's voice is filled with excitement. Here it comes, the plot is unfolding. You had a big argument with the male lead because you couldn't bear the hardship, forcing him to move. You threatened to jump off the building if he didn't, instantly igniting his sense of humiliation. Why did the male lead bring it up first? Never mind. As long as the plot is completed, the system went on, but it didn't hear me respond. Following my gaze, it noticed I was looking at Zhou Qi's arm. The wound has reopened, I muttered to myself. Not just my arms, but my shoulders were also covered in fresh bruises. Last time it was moving cement. This time, was it tiles, or a whole truckload of putty powder? I asked him, where did you get the money? What did you do? Zhou Qi remained silent again. Last time he didn't speak because I didn't ask, but this time I asked, and he still didn't say anything. I got angry just like in the plot, and had a big argument with Zhou Qi. I scolded him for being useless and without ambition, asking why he could only do manual labor. He scolded him for being so useless, asking why he had to go bankrupt, why they could only live in a dilapidated basement. He called him a good-for-nothing, wondering why everyone else was fine, yet he always managed to get himself covered in wounds. He ranted for a long time until he ran out of energy, collapsing to his knees. In front of him, someone else was also crouching down. Zhou Qi, who had been letting me vent all along, finally reacted. The wounds on his hands had not yet healed, and he had developed frostbite. Only the neatly trimmed nails hinted at the days of privilege he once enjoyed. At this moment, his hand was stretched out in front of me, a tissue falling into his palm. Why did you give me this? I stared at the tissue for a long time, my fingers moving slowly to touch my cheek. Don't cry. Oh, it's because I was crying. It's hard to describe the look in Zhou Qi's eyes at this moment. He wiped away my tears, first with tissues, then with his fingers, and finally with the only uninjured part of his palm. Tears are salty, and salt on a wound must be very painful, but Zhou Qi seemed not to notice. He continued to gently wipe my tears with great patience. For this inevitable quarrel, there was a long silence before his response came. It's my fault, as if making a conclusion, yet also as if making a promise. My tears once again soaked his wrist. I know what gift to give him. Early the next morning, while Zhou Qi was at work, I quietly slipped out the door, The system kept pestering me to find out what I was going to buy, but I refused to tell. Just as I was approaching the mall, someone spilled coffee all over me at the entrance. The plot unfolds. Driven by vanity, you sneak out to flirt with wealthy men, relying on your beauty to charm them wherever you go. As expected, the person who bumped into me couldn't take their eyes off me. The system says his name is Jiang Yuan. The wealthy second-generation playboy I'm supposed to latch onto after divorcing the male lead in the plot. Jiang Yuan feigned an apology and invited me to dinner, then took me shopping for a new outfit. When leaving, he even generously transferred 5,000 yuan to me as compensation for the fright. I detest Jiang Yuan's sticky, covetous gaze, as if I were some trivial prize within his grasp. The system was full of enthusiasm. Finally back on track, your lover has appeared. And the divorce plot is not far off. You should hurry up and have an affair, seduce him well. This task can finally be completed. You're really hard to listen to. The system was unbothered. It's just the truth. By the way, aren't you supposed to be buying a gift? Look, here's the money, and you're still complaining about how I speak. I don't even mind that you're always doing these messy things. You'd be better off spending your time humiliating the male lead instead of fussing over this crappy gift. Messy? How is buying a gift messy? I detest the tone of the system, and I loathe the casualness in its words. It always refers to Zhou Qi as the male lead, forever rigidly forcing me to follow the script. It doesn't see the fresh wounds layered upon Zhou Qi's arms and shoulders, nor does it ever care how harsh and hurtful the lines it forces me to say are. When Zhou Qi returned in the evening, I had been waiting on the sofa for too long and had already fallen asleep. When I was half asleep and being carried, I called out Zhou Qi's name. I bought you a gift. I opened the exquisite wrapping. I handed over the gift I had waited all night to give. I don't know if you'll like it. I spent a long time choosing it. Zhou Qi's gaze slowly shifted from my face to my palm. It was a down jacket, with a conventional style and a conventional color. I had considered buying a white one, as Zhou Qi had clear, handsome features that would look good in white, but the places he often frequented were construction sites, warehouses, and docks. For someone in financial straits, there were no light-colored clothes in the wardrobe. They couldn't afford to buy them, nor did they dare to. The jacket covered in dust and oil was still by the door. Zhou Qi must have gone to fix someone's car today. I found myself making clumsy excuses, trying to cover up my true intentions. Don't think that buying you a piece of clothing means anything. I just don't want you to get sick from the cold when you go out. Medicine is so expensive these days. If you end up in the hospital, how much would that cost? I'm not lending you any money, you useless waste of space. The clothes fit perfectly, of course, since I had secretly sneaked over at night to measure them. Zhou Qi tried it on and then took it off. I thought something was wrong and was about to ask when I heard Zhou Qi's voice. Where did the money come from? I could never quite read Zhou Qi's eyes. It was as if there were always many things hidden deep within him. The exterior is covered with a cold, sharp shell, softening slightly when facing me, or perhaps not at all. I was stumped, momentarily unsure of what to say. While you were flirting with the rich second generation. The male lead was across the street carrying goods for someone else. The system chuckled with a sense of schadenfreude, taking money from her lover and then coming back to buy him a gift. How is that not considered robbing the rich to help the poor? Across the street. So, Zhou Qi saw someone transfer money to me, while he was working hard to earn money for me. Did he witness me secretly hooking up with a rich second-generation heir? Where did the money come from? Zhou Qi asked again. He rarely spoke to me with such authority, and I was startled by his tone. My expression was filled with fear, and I remained silent for a long time. Zhou Qi noticed my fear. He closed his eyes, and the sharpness in his demeanor subsided. I didn't mean to scold you. It's just that this coat is so expensive. Did it use up all the money you saved? There's no money saved. Every time Zhou Qi hands over his salary, I spend it all the next day according to the plot. No savings, no money put aside. Yet I can suddenly buy him a 2,000 yuan down jacket. Today I went to fix a car and met a big client who gave me a 200 yuan tip. Zhou Qi handed over all the money he had earned during this period to me. He didn't ask where the money came from, nor did he question why I was wearing a famous brand outfit. He just looked at me, for a long time, then slowly shifted his gaze away. Don't hold back on spending money. If you run out, just ask me for more. He paused for a moment and said, I'm sorry, a completely unexpected apology. From that day on, Zhou Qi worked even harder. Here it comes, the male lead is finally going to fight in underground boxing. I told you, working a regular job is no good. How long would it take to get rich just by moving goods? The system was particularly excited and even praised me for once. Not bad, even though you messed up the plot. You managed to get it back on track in the end. At this moment, I am crouching by Zhou Qi's bed. Once again, I am applying medicine to his wounds. He deliberately hides it from me, never mentioning the injuries on his body, but I know that since he started fighting in illegal boxing matches, there will only be more and more of them. Thanks to your excellent performance in the last plot, that outfit of yours really humiliated the male lead, spending money from your lover. TSK, anyone who can endure that is on par with Han Xian. I counted the wounds on Zhou Qi's body, 1, 3, 5, I've already returned the 5,000 yuan to Jiang Yuan. The gift wasn't bought with his money. The system paused for a moment, then shrieked, damn, no way. So where did you get the money? Right, I don't have any savings, no job, not even a credit card. So where did the money come from? I touched the hat and didn't say anything. I've been meaning to ask you for a while now. Why are you so strange towards the male lead? From the very beginning, you should just do what a vicious female supporting character is supposed to do. But instead, you secretly pick flowers, apply medicine, buy gifts. Why do you keep doing these meaningless things? The system couldn't hold back and spoke up. I propped my chin on my hand and looked out the window. The new neighborhood we moved into has a tall, lush tree right outside the window. My eyelashes fluttered at the system's question. Actually, this isn't our first meeting. It was the second month after I was found and brought back to the Lin family when the system found me. As the true daughter of the Lin family, I didn't receive the preferential treatment I had imagined. The Zhou family went bankrupt, and the Lin family, concerned about their reputation, couldn't back out of the engagement. So, they decided to have me, a stand-in, marry in place of their pampered fake heiress. The system appeared suddenly, informing me that the man I was about to marry was actually the male lead of a modern urban revenge story, and I was his vain and malicious ex-wife, whose divorce would pave the way for his entrepreneurial success and rise to prominence. After you maintain your character and complete the plot, I will reward you with a large sum of money. The system said this, but it didn't really tempt me. What I cared about was another sentence. Do you mean that as long as I keep up the character, the male lead's plot won't change, and I'll be able to stage a comeback in the future, no longer living the hard life of bankruptcy? So I agreed to the system. The system didn't know that I had met Zhou Qi long before. In the 18th year of my switched at birth situation, my family tore up my admission notice and forced me into an engagement. I stole an ID card and escaped, only to wander around the university gates again. Eventually, I found work at a hot pot restaurant to make a living. After getting burned on my arm, the shop kicked me out, with nowhere to stay and no place to go. Pain makes one vulnerable. While standing on the bridge, letting the wind blow, I met Zhou Qi. At 20, Zhou Qi already had an air of maturity and steadiness. He took the dirty, disheveled me to eat my first ever McDonald's meal. Before leaving, he packed up the leftovers and escorted me to the entrance of the university. And beneath the paper bag marked with the letter M was quietly hidden 100,000 yuan. It was the first time I realized that you can still go to school even without an admission notice. I found out that even if you can't afford the tuition, the country has policies to support you. But the mountain village I lived in was poor, backward, and feudal. No wonder you turned out this way. The system remained silent for a long time before saying this. I pursed my lips and gave an embarrassed smile. The one who was supposed to be vicious and vain in such a twisted environment. But after meeting Zhou Qi, my life took a turn. Zhou Qi might have forgotten, but a long, long time ago, I received his gift. Do you think Zhou Qi recognized you as the girl from back then? The system asked, not noticing that this time, it hadn't used the rigid, cold title of male lead. There shouldn't be any. In the past, I was old-fashioned, self-conscious, skinny, and very different from how I am now. I don't want him to recognize me either. Thinking about the bad things I've done now, I feel ashamed again. He must feel very disappointed to see the girl he once helped turn out to be so foolish, vain, and malicious. The system's voice was stiff. Don't overthink it. The path you're on is also part of helping him achieve his comeback. As the male lead, it's natural for him to face obstacles. I know, I repeated it again. So when the fake heiress asked me to take her place in the marriage, I was willing. I was also willing to complete this task. I wanted to see Zhou Qi rise again, to see him make a triumphant return, but images of Zhou Qi's wounds all over his body flashed through my mind. He relied on hard labor, underground fighting, and groveling. My eyes slowly welled up with tears. Why does achieving success have to be so painful? I don't like this. Today is December 31st. I specifically wore the coat Zhou Qi gave me to spend New Year's Eve with him. When I found him, there was a beautiful girl standing beside him. The female lead finally appeared. She is the daughter of the underground boxing arena's owner. After your divorce, it was her who accompanied the male lead in rebuilding his fortunes, the true female lead. Indeed, my steps halted, and a sudden urge to retreat washed over me, but it was too late. The two of them heard the footsteps and turned their heads simultaneously to look over. Leading the way, the female protagonist Qin Xiaoxiao spoke up with a hint of jest. This is why you refused to spend New Year's Eve with me, you already had plans. Zhou Qi walked over, naturally taking my bag from me, and hummed in acknowledgement. I noticed he wasn't wearing that down jacket, but instead, a piece of clothing I hadn't seen before. The same logo appeared on the corner of Qin Xiaoxiao's clothes. It seems like there's a scene like this in the plot. The female lead, seeing that Zhou Qi is in financial difficulty, gives him clothes. So is Zhou Qi wearing what Qin Xiaoxiao gave him now? I suddenly feel a bit uncomfortable, a feeling I can't quite put into words. Qin Xiaoxiao has already greeted me in her usual friendly manner. She looked for a while and suddenly seemed to remember something. I've seen you before. Just as I was puzzled, I saw her pull out a photo. Aren't you the one who's been stringing along Jiang Yuan recently? You've charmed him into spending a lot of money, even saying you'd marry him and have lots of children for him. How come you're now Zhou Qi's girlfriend? I blushed furiously. You're lying, except for the first meeting. Every time Jiang Yuan deliberately bumped into me afterward, I ignored him. How could I possibly have said those things to him? Qin Xiaoxiao immediately apologized. Maybe I was mistaken, it just looked similar, and I thought it was you. Sorry. Although she said that, her expression seemed to be helping me save face. That photo was even more damning evidence. I was intimately leaning against Jiang Yuan's embrace, and based on the clothing and figure, anyone familiar could easily recognize it was me. Qin Xiaoxiao was still talking. Jiang Yuan gave that woman 5,000 on their first meeting. Who knows how much more he gave her after that? She's so vain and fickle. Stop talking, Zhou Qi interrupted her, pulling me away. I stood rooted in place, refusing to move. I looked at Zhou Qi, tears brimming in my eyes, and asked word by word, do you believe what she said? Do you believe I'm a vain, shallow, fickle bad woman? This New Year's Eve didn't pass as imagined. On the way back, neither of them spoke. The atmosphere was eerily silent. As soon as I got home, I locked myself in my room. What was the point of asking that question? The system was very confused. This was the predetermined plot. I was exposed by the female lead for my fickle nature, and the male lead could no longer deceive himself. He would completely detest me, and only then would he propose a divorce, paving the way for him to be with the true female lead. Your question is like adding feet to a snake, completely unnecessary. I lay in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling, after an unknown amount of time. A knock sounded at the door. Dinner is ready. The dining table was suffused with stifling silence. The original plan was to go for hot pot. Because of New Year's Eve, I specifically booked the spot well in advance. Zhou Qi made spare ribs and stir-fried a plate of cabbage. It was because I mentioned my legs kept cramping lately, and Zhou Qi went out early in the morning to buy them. Watching Zhou Qi's chopsticks reach only for the cabbage, a suffocating frustration welled up within me, unspoken. So I asked directly, you haven't answered my previous question yet. Do you think that person was me? The chopsticks paused momentarily. Then Zhou Qi continued eating his vegetables. No, I believe you. A flood of explanations choked in my throat. I was thrown off balance by Zhou Qi's casual demeanor. The down jacket I bought you. I didn't spend someone else's money. It was mine. The soup has gotten cold. I'll go heat it up. Zhou Qi suddenly interrupted me. But how could the soup that was just served have cooled down so quickly? I stared at Zhou Qi's back. System, do you think it's possible? I organized my words, that Zhou Qi genuinely believes me, and this is just a misunderstanding. After all, my first meeting with Jiang Yuan wasn't particularly intimate, and the money he gave was merely an act of atonement. As for the photos, it's just a matter of perspective. The actual situation isn't what it seems. The system shattered my illusions. What are you thinking? The male lead just doesn't want to tear things apart. Do you really expect him to admit in person that his wife has cheated on him? That would be too humiliating. Just watch. He's completely given up on you and is preparing to divorce you. He has a proper official pairing. What does it have to do with you? A vicious female supporting character. I opened my mouth, wanting to argue. But then I thought of the female lead's appearance and the clothes she had given to Zhou Qi. Silence. After that day, the already taciturn Zhou Qi became even more silent. He often stayed away for days without returning home, and even when he did, it was late at night, long after I had fallen asleep. I tried several times to catch him, but I never succeeded, so naturally, I didn't know if his injuries had healed. Stop thinking about it. The male lead has already met the female lead. And they're starting to develop feelings for each other. The divorce plot is coming up soon. Be prepared. What kind of preparation is that? It doesn't sound like anything good. I pursed my lips and remained silent. The day of the divorce was a sunny one. I sat in the living room early in the morning, staring blankly at the floor. Shochi didn't mention it when he got up in the morning, nor when he came back at noon to pick up his things. In the afternoon, we went to eat the hot pot we had missed out on that day. Maybe the hot pot was too spicy, and I couldn't help but feel my eyes getting a bit red. I turned my head away, avoiding Zhou Qi's gaze, and made small talk. Why did you get off work so early today? This spicy hot pot isn't as good as they say online. It's too spicy. I can't even taste the original flavors of the ingredients. Zhou Qi agreed with me. Then next time, we'll just order the tomato pot. There won't be a next time. After settling the bill and stepping out, we happened to run into a mall event. Someone handed me a sticky note. You can make a wish. You know, the wishes written on it will be granted by the gods. I glanced sideways at Zhou Qi, who was writing carefully, stroke by stroke. On the way back, I couldn't resist asking, "What did you write for your wish?" I didn't expect to hear a response, given how reserved and silent Zhou Qi usually was, but I heard his reply, "I don't want you to cry." The faint moonlight fell into Zhou Qi's eyes as he gazed at my stunned expression. "I want you to be happy, to wear beautiful clothes, to wear pretty bracelets, to be happy, to never have to worry about money. I strive to fulfill all your requests. Those physical tasks don't mean much to me. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. I want to exchange the fulfillment of your wishes for your smile. That's fair." The air grew still, and Zhou Qi, rarely, showed signs of frustration and confusion, but I can never seem to do it. He asked softly, "Lin Miao, am I really so useless? With me, you're never happy." After the divorce, the system informed me that the mission had been successfully completed, but I always feel a void in my heart. The next time I secretly went to see Zhou Qi, I ran into Qin Xiaoxiao. By this time, Zhou Qi had already saved his first pot of gold, and his career was taking off, the two of them standing together. With his talent and her beauty, made a perfect match. Qin Xiaoxiao smiled warmly, her head tilted as she spoke, though it was unclear what she was saying. Zhou Qi, on the other hand, seemed somewhat distracted, his gaze wandering aimlessly, as if searching for something. I quietly slipped away, feeling somewhat dejected. "Stop looking, you've already been written out as the supporting female character. The rest of the story belongs to the main heroine. What does it have to do with you?" I stubbornly retorted, "I didn't watch, I was just passing by." Passing by 3 times a week, and always right at their after-work time. What's it to you? You're so annoying. Why haven't you left yet? As I bickered with the system, I didn't notice someone quietly approaching me. The roar of the motorcycle engine echoed, accompanied by a burst of male laughter. Someone grabbed my bag, their strength too great for me to resist. By the time I realized what had happened, the group of yellow-haired guys who had snatched my bag were already a long way off on their bikes. Seeing my stunned expression, one of them turned back, raised an eyebrow, and smirked at me. "Thought it was a beauty, but it's a nun, huh?" It was only then that I realized my hat had somehow been scraped against the ground. Why are they like this?" I stammered, repeating the same words over and over, feeling utterly desperate. "So bad, too bad. Why did you steal my bag?" Coming back to my senses, I touched my head and, under the strange gazes of those around me, hurriedly hid in the nearby alley. Squatting on the ground, I buried my head in my knees, only now realizing the fear, my body trembling slightly. The system was also furious, spewing out curses so foul and varied that there was no repetition. I called the police. "I'm so angry. Are these guys with yellow hair sick? They dare to steal my host. Let them talk to the national criminal law." With the system's comfort, I gradually stopped trembling. I don't know how much time has passed, but when I looked up, I realized there was someone standing in front of me, backlit. I looked for a long time and found it was Zhou Qi. His hair was a bit messy, and his coat had crumpled folds. Seeing my bloodshot eyes, he closed his own for a moment, then crouched down and stuffed something into my arms. It was the bag that had been stolen. The police have already taken them away. They will face punishment under the law. I clutched my bag, my first instinct being to hastily pull on my hat. How did you get here? Shochi didn't speak, merely gazing at me, as if suppressing some emotion. I fumbled with my hat, my eyes darting about, not even sure what I was saying. I never expected there would still be a punk trying to rob someone. Haha. I must have hit the jackpot. I should have taken the subway. Why did I walk? The subway didn't even raise its prices. Haha. The unfinished words were swallowed by the warm embrace. I always knew Zhou Qi had broad shoulders, but I didn't realize his embrace would be so strong. The embrace was so tight. It enveloped me entirely, leaving me breathless. What happened to your hair? He asked me, and I hesitated, wanting to lie. But when our eyes met, it was as if I'd been scorched. And the truth slipped out involuntarily. Sold it to someone for money. How much did you sell it for? 2,136. That was the price of the down jacket. I spent the entire afternoon haggling with the hair collector over the price. After hearing my response, Zhou Qi fell silent. I felt the atmosphere grow awkward and tried to lighten it with a joke. You didn't think I had some terminal illness, did you? Ha ha ha, that would be way too melodramatic. The boss said he'd only pay 500 for a shoulder-length cut, but 2,000 for a buzz cut. I told you, I'm really good at bargaining. Not only did I get him to agree to 2,100, but I also managed to get him to throw in a hat with a wig. Ha ha ha. The boss said it was the thickest, softest hair he's ever received. My voice grew softer, and I felt a dampness at my shoulder. Zhou Qi buried his head in the crook of my neck, and for the first time, the usually reserved and steady man let me see his tears. Originally, Zhou Qi's tears weren't as cold and sharp as he was. They were scalding. He spoke hoarsely. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing again? I was held for a very long time. The system, which usually liked to mock and ridicule me, was uncharacteristically silent. Is it really that bad? Maybe I should put on a hat. It's not bad at all. It's very beautiful. Zhou Qi pulled me up gently, holding my hand as he prepared to leave. I hesitated, pulling my hand back. Qin Xiaoxiao must be anxious by now. You should hurry back to accompany her. Qin Xiaoxiao. Zhou Qi paused, as if he had realized something. You think I have something with her? I bit my lip and nodded. Zhou Qi looked at me, his gaze intense. No. He repeated it again. No. I have no relationship with anyone else. I thought you wanted a divorce because you didn't like me, because you hated me. After all, I'm such a useless waste. That's not it. I hurriedly interrupted him. You're great, really great. The divorce was just because we can't be together. Why, don't you like me? I was caught off guard, hesitating for a long time, watching the light in Zhou Qi's eyes gradually fade, before I finally stammered, speaking in a small, hesitant voice. It's not that. I do like you. Zhou Qi looked at me, and suddenly let out a muffled laugh. Since going bankrupt, he rarely smiled and seldom showed any emotional fluctuations, but now, he was smiling with a youthful vigor, as if the once spirited and ambitious version of himself had reappeared. I was a bit stunned and asked bluntly, what about you? Do you like me? Zhou Qi finally got his wish and held my hand. After walking a few steps, I heard the reply. He said, I love you, extra. Zhou Qi, Lin Miao has come to secretly apply medicine to my wounds again. She's not very skilled, and several times her nails grazed my injuries. Yet her movements are so gentle that as soon as she touches them, she panics and blows on them, like a child, thinking that blowing on it would relieve the pain. After a while, a muffled sob came. I felt a wetness. It was Lin Miao's tears. I wanted to open my eyes and tell her it didn't hurt, but I was also afraid of scaring her. A soft cheek gently pressed against my palm. She didn't mind the rough calluses on my knuckles. And her wrist was damp now, even a bankrupt stray dog that's been hurt. Would someone still feel pity for it? The wound felt numb, and my chest felt numb as well. Many nights, I would fall asleep with these gentle breaths and tears. I asked the older workers at the construction site, what makes a girl cry? The older brother took a drag of his cigarette and looked at me knowingly. What's wrong? Did you have a fight with your wife? I thought about it and decided it wasn't really a fight. Lin Miao had scolded me, but I didn't retort. My older brother gave me some advice. It's easy to please a girl. Just give her what she wants, like a gift. For example, my wife's been into photography lately, so I'm planning to use this month's salary to buy her an iPhone. So when I heard Lin Miao say she wanted a coat, I was very happy. If there's a wish, it can be fulfilled, and it can make her happy. But it seems I've messed up again. Lin Miao still cried. I always seem to fail at making her happy, even though just a few years ago, when we first met, a simple meal at McDonald's would make her smile so brightly. She asked me where the money came from, and I couldn't bring myself to tell her, hanging from the rooftop of the 26th floor, surrounded by residents taking photos. I didn't care at all. After going bankrupt, I was willing to do any dirty or exhausting job just to make money, but I didn't want Lin Mia to see my predicament, so I crouched down, wiped away her tears, and apologized to her. It's my fault. Even fulfilling her wish is so difficult for me. I went underground to fight in illegal boxing matches. I was desperate to make money, to escape this helpless situation. The boss's daughter of the boxing arena distributed new uniforms to all the employees. I declined, looking at the logo and asking if I could exchange it for cash. Everyone around laughed, teasing that I was obsessed with money. Someone approached me for help, asking me to try on the uniform. He said his younger brother is about the same height as me and wanted to keep this shirt for him. Before I could take it off, I saw Lin Miao standing at the door. That New Year's Eve never happened. In the end, we got divorced. I was in low spirits during that time, lacking motivation for anything. It wasn't until I noticed Lin Miao secretly watching me, very alert, hiding at a bus stop not far away. The moment I looked up, he quickly darted into a corner, but I still found her. I stood there in a daze. As soon as she appeared, my heart began to beat in rhythm with hers, uncontrollably. Later, when I saw her hair, I was so flustered that I ended up crying. I didn't dare to look up, afraid that she would see the obsessive madness in my eyes, so intense it was frightening. After remarrying, one day she suddenly asked me, "When did you start liking me?" I thought about it. When was it? I recognized Lin Miao as the girl I had met before at first glance. She had changed a lot, but her eyes still shone brightly. Every time she said those belittling words to me, her gaze was filled with sorrow. I knew she didn't mean it. Perhaps during those nights when you bandaged me and shed tears, my heart gradually fell for you. It's such a pity. We got married right away without confessing or dating. Completely unlike normal couples. After saying that, Lin Miao smiled again. But it's still very good now. There was a confession, I said, pursing my lips under Lin Miao's questioning gaze. I once gave you a bouquet of flowers. The day after I made up my mind, I spent all the money I had on that bouquet. Online, they say that love should begin with a bouquet of flowers. We can start over, beginning with a confession. Lin Miao stared at me for a long time, and her eyes suddenly reddened. I instantly panicked. She wiped away her tears and ran to fetch a book. I didn't lose it. I secretly went to pick it up. The pure and beautiful jasmine flower lay peacefully on the page, serving as a very lovely bookmark. I wiped away Lin Miao's tears with a kiss, this time not saying sorry, but, "Thank you, I met you," and from then on, I began to thank fate. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. For years after my death, my tombstone tilted, so I sent several dreams to Liang Luo, asking him to come and fix it, but he refused to come. I got a bit angry and continued to whine and cry in my dreams about how miserable I was. Liang Luo frowned and replied to me, "Don't bother me, I'm not going, I'm busy." Then one late night, just after getting off work, Liang Luo showed up carrying a shovel. The young master, who had never done any manual labor before, took a swing with the shovel. My tombstone, it completely toppled over. Liang Luo bit on his cigarette and instead laughed. Zhou Qi, are you deliberately picking a fight? Another year passed during the Cold Clothes Festival. Liang Luo still didn't burn anything for me. The debts in the underworld kept piling up, and even the black and white impermanences advised me to reincarnate as soon as possible. I glanced at my tattered clothes and still shook my head. No, I won't go. Liang Luo is just too much of a scoundrel. I need to watch him raise my daughter before I'm willing to be reincarnated. Liang Luo and I have a daughter. This year, she turned 4. I don't know what her name is, nor do I know what she looks like. Liang Luo doesn't let me see her. He rarely comes to visit me either. In the first year after my death, he went mad, throwing all my belongings out of the house and forbidding the housekeepers from mentioning my name, as if to erase me from his world, to clean and thoroughly remove all traces of me. The house was plastered with talismans. A peachwood sword lay by his pillow. My daughter's room is filled with intricate arrays. Even catching a distant glimpse of her is a luxury. For Liang Luo, who is so skeptical of the supernatural, to go to such lengths is truly taxing on him. He loathes me to the core. How could I dare hope that he would treat my daughter well? I must watch over her until she grows up. A cold wind blew, and I huddled behind a tilted gravestone, clutching myself tightly. Still, I shivered from the cold. The surroundings were pitch black, and I buried my head between my knees, too afraid to look up, afraid of being spotted by passing ghosts. These lonely spirits specifically target us helpless ghosts for bullying. They even steal our clothes, seizing the tribute. Competing for incense offerings, I have no one to rely on, so I can only be bullied by them everywhere. A noise comes from not far away, and I lower my head even deeper, clutching her mouth and nose tightly, afraid to breathe. Suddenly, the sound stopped at my grave. With a clang, a shovel landed at my feet. I peeked out from behind the gravestone, nearly bursting into tears. Liang Luo stood there in a black overcoat, his sharp eyes glancing casually at my tombstone. It seems like he's confirming if it's my tombstone. What's so hard to recognize? He found it troublesome, with such a large tombstone having only a few words. Husband, Liang Luo. Even my daughter didn't get added. He wasn't in a hurry to correct my tombstone, instead squatting down to pull out a cigarette from his pocket. He smoked while looking at my photo. His brows and eyes exuded a lazy air. Zhou Qi, you had so much wealth, and yet you didn't even leave it to me after you died. It's made me spend my prime years either running errands or taking care of kids. He tapped the ash off his cigarette and poked at my forehead on the photo. He has the nerve to say that. He's always neglecting his duties and indulging in debauchery. Can't I leave something for my daughter, even after I'm dead? He's still thinking about my property. How shameless. In a fit of anger, I summoned a gust of wind and rushed straight at him. Liang Luo's hair was blown into disarray by me. The collar of his overcoat was carelessly turned up. Cigarette ash clung to his sleeve. He didn't seem angry. He tapped the ash from the tip of his cigarette and raised his eyelids, saying, upset, even after being dead for so long, your resentment is still so strong. I whipped up another gust of wind to slap his face. He was talking too much. Liang Luo didn't get angry but instead smiled, stomped out his cigarette, and picked up the shovel by his feet. All right, I'll fix it for you. I wonder why being a ghost involves so much hassle. Every day it's either complaining about being cold or whining about having no money. Zhou Qi, you're a ghost. Can't you show a bit of backbone? I glared at him fiercely. It was all because he never came around even once the entire year. How can I live without enough clothes or food? Every time I mention lacking something, Liang Luo always brushes it off, closing his eyes and replying, I know, don't bother me in my dreams. My sleep time is precious. I need to wake up and earn money for your daughter's milk powder. I believed his nonsense and waited, again and again. In the end, I couldn't wait any longer, so I entered his dream once more. He still had his eyes closed, speaking to me as if it were an everyday occurrence. Zhou Qi, you're here again. Don't ghosts need to sleep? You promised to burn money for me. Liang Luo smiled. I forgot. Just wait a little longer. I'll burn it for you when I have time. Humph. What do you mean, no time? He can even carry my daughter just to meet his blind date. How come you're so good at making time, but when it comes to me, you're always busy? This time he was at least a bit considerate. I only had to nag him twice in his dream, and he came to fix it. Liang Luo held the shovel and gestured a couple of times. I frowned, watching him look eager to try. Could he really do it? Indeed, with a single shovel strike from Liang Luo, my tombstone completely toppled, falling at his feet. It kicked up a cloud of dust, dirted his trouser leg. Liang Luo frowned and muttered a curse under his breath. Then I heard him ask, Zhou Qi, you can still live in a house without a roof, right? A surge of anger flared within me, burning with rage. I clenched my fists tightly, thinking of giving him a hard slap. Dad, a little girl's tender voice suddenly came from not far away. I was stunned. Liang Luo also paused, quickly hiding the cigarette and vigorously brushing off the cigarette ash on his clothes. Realizing what had happened, I quickly turned around. I saw a young girl wearing a white down jacket, her hair beautifully braided, and her cheeks rosy. Her eyes, like grapes, were round and dark. She ran towards Liang Luo with a smile. She was so small, so delicate. Liang Luo easily scooped her up into his arms, wrapping her tightly in his coat, not letting me see her even for a moment. Dad didn't tell you to wait in the car. Liang Luo softened his sharp demeanor, his gaze gentling as he gently rubbed the tip of his nose against the little girl's cheek. Auntie Lin said she made wontons at home, and I'm hungry. She wrapped her small hands around Liang Luo's neck and pressed her cheek against his. Dad, my face is so cold. Let's go home quickly. She kissed Liang Luo's face, her tiny hands covering his ears, trying her best to shield her father from the wind. Clever and sharp-witted, I could watch her forever and never tire. Liang Luo kissed his daughter's cheek and wrapped her in his coat, then glanced at the collapsed tombstone. Zhou Qi, you can stay in the house for now, my daughter is hungry. I need to go back. I clenched my fists and quickly followed behind him. When are you going to fix it for me? Liang Luo couldn't hear. The little girl in his arms slipped out of Liang Luo's embrace and looked at me with her quiet, grape-like eyes. She suddenly spoke up, Dad, isn't this auntie going home? Little pointed at me. Liang Luo froze momentarily. Looking back, it was still empty. He then simply took off his coat, wrapped his daughter tightly so that not a sliver of wind could get through, and carried her out. Before leaving, he threatened me lightly, Zhou Qi, don't follow me, that pile of talismans at home is enough to keep you busy. I stopped in my tracks. A gentle breeze merely swept away the ash from the corner of his clothes. Liang Luo lowered his gaze to the corner of his shirt that had been lifted, but in the end, he said nothing and left without looking back. I stood still, not following them any further. Silence surrounded them. I sat on the collapsed gravestone, thinking of things from a very, very long time ago. Liang Luo and I had a business marriage. He loved to play. He was a regular in the gossip columns. He topped the headlines in the gossip tabloids. It was his most dissolute year. At the age of 27, I was 23. We were forced to be bound together. Before we got married, he smiled and said to me, there's a line of women outside eager to become Mrs. Liang, Miss Shou. So well behaved. Don't let yourself get played and end up crying. I looked up at him and calmly replied, if they had that kind of ability, I wouldn't be the one taking the position. He raised an eyebrow, a bit surprised. I thought Miss Zhou only dabbled in literature. I also have a slight understanding of strategy. I modestly replied. Liang Luo smiled. I had never seen him smile like this before. His white teeth, his hair strands glistening in the sunlight, his eyebrows tinged with joy. The collar of his white shirt was half open, and his suit jacket was draped over his arm. A touch of laziness, a touch of ease. He said, all right, then Miss Zhou, you'll protect me from now on. I've met many men, but none like Liang Luo. Under his refined exterior lies a wild and carefree spirit. I know all too well that I cannot keep him. I dare not even hope that someone like him would love me wholeheartedly, so I do not overstep, nor do I foolishly try to tie him down. In the 2 years of our marriage, I have never overstepped my bounds regarding his affairs. He enjoys the meals I prepare, but he is too busy to come home. He often comes back at 10 o'clock at night, asking me to cook for him. I only make tomato and egg noodles, adding 2 stalks of green vegetables. Liang Luo is not picky with food. He always eats it all clean. After I finish cooking, I go back to my room, and after he ate and drank his fill, he would leave, never staying the night. With over 300 square meters of space, I lived alone, enjoying my freedom. This heavenly life lasted less than 2 years before Liang Luo's parents began pressuring us to have children. Liang Luo was quite averse to the idea and didn't even bother pretending anymore, attending a gala with a female companion, splurging a fortune to launch a new star, even having the woman his father kept outside send a floral basket to his mother for the company's opening ceremony, in just half a month. The Liang group made several appearances on the trending searches. Liang Luo's mother was absolutely furious. Meanwhile, Liang Luo sat calmly in front of me, eating his meal. He picked up some fish and placed it in my bowl. The fish is good, eat more. Before leaving, he put on his coat and looked back at me. You don't need to worry about my mother. After a moment, he added, if she gives you a hard time, call me. As he expected, his mother was a very strong-willed woman, and when she couldn't control Liang Luo, she turned to pressuring me. Back then, I wouldn't back down, nor would I yield. Time and time again, she made things difficult for me, but I never told Liang Luo, until the company at home ran into trouble. Investors pulled out, the cash flow broke. In desperation, my father sent me to beg Liang Luo's mother, to plead with her to spare us. At that time, I realized that our family company had been on a downward spiral. I simply couldn't endure the deliberate difficulties created by Liang Luo's mother. I went to see Liang Luo's mother. For the first time, I learned to humble myself. She agreed to help my family's company through the crisis, but as a price, she demanded that I have a child. Liang Luo is a lost cause. I need a new successor. I signed the confidentiality agreement. One evening, as Liang Luo finished dinner and prepared to leave, I took out 2 wine glasses. Under the warm light, Liang Luo raised his eyes to look at me, a hint of amusement in his expression. I stood up, my pencil skirt swaying gracefully with each step, the sound of my high heels crisp and pleasing. Liang Luo raised an eyebrow, setting down the jacket draped over his arm, and leaned lazily against the back of the chair. I walked up to him, lowered my eyes, and focused on pouring the wine. Wine splashed onto the back of my hand. Liang Luo looked at me for 2 seconds, then covered the back of my hand with his large palm, pulling me into his embrace in one swift motion. I sat at his knees, my ears turned red, but I pretended to be calm. Liang Luo chuckled softly and downed the rest of his wine in one gulp. The wine's aroma was intoxicating. He whispered in my ear, "Keep me." I buried my head in the side of his neck, too afraid to look at him. I could only nod slightly, my face flushed. Liang Luo twirled a strand of my hair that had fallen by his hand and chuckled, "Can't drive after drinking, mind if I stay over for the night?" Huh, I didn't speak, just kissed his neck. The blood was warm, the artery pulsed. Liang Luo smiled, lifting my chin, and a forceful kiss came down, relentless and unyielding, a night of debauchery. From then on, Liang Luo returned home more frequently, spending more and more time with me. Back then, I used the excuse of caring for his health to get him to quit smoking and drinking. He was obedient, always carrying candies and gum in my pocket. He started making time to have meals with me, evening walks together, dining with me, remembering my taste preferences, trying milk tea, noting down its sweetness level. Such days continued for 4 months, and then I became pregnant. Joy, confusion, after realizing, panic and fear set in, according to the contract. The child would belong to Liang Luo's mother once born. I didn't dare let Liang Luo's mother know about the child in advance, so I didn't dare tell anyone, not even Liang Luo. It wasn't until Liang Luo discovered that agreement, I thought he would get angry. I was prepared for him to yell at me, but he just asked me, "Zhou Qi, do you have no heart? You used our child as a bet." I clutched his sleeve, my face pale, unable to utter a single word. It was I who deceived him, from the very beginning. I never intended to seek his help, nor did I ever expect to develop any genuine feelings for him. I exploited him. There was no way to defend myself. I thought you had 2 ounces of sincerity for me, not enough to be bought off by my mother. "Zhou Qi," he called me, his eyes filled with frost. "Let's end it here." I sighed, not daring to recall Liang Luo's eyes brimming with frost. All I remember is the next 4 years, where he indulged in wine and women, surrounded by beauties. He completely let go of me. A gust of wind blew past, and I shivered, huddling in front of the tombstone, tightly hugging my knees. All I could think of were my daughter's round, glistening eyes. They were so beautiful. She grew up safe and sound, really well behaved. I laughed until tears streamed down my face. My heart ached even more, and tears kept flowing, soaking my clothes. The cold wind chilled me to the bone. My heart felt as if it were being squeezed by a giant hand, leaving me gasping for breath, so I cried even harder, until my shrill screams echoed throughout the garden, over and over again. It lasted for a long time. Tears fell one by one onto my cold legs, staining the exposed white bones red. I clenched my bent and deformed fingers, my nails digging into the flayed flesh. The pain was excruciating, tears dripping with blood. "Why are you crying? Isn't being a ghost better than being human?" "Your crying is giving me a headache." I looked up. I saw a girl leaning against a tombstone, munching on an apple she had stolen. Behind her followed the ghost messengers. They were the 2 familiar figures in charge of guiding me, old acquaintances. I was stunned, and even the tears I was about to shed were forgotten as I quickly said, "I won't leave, I won't reincarnate. I need to watch my daughter grow up." The Grim Reaper sighed, "With your current state, you can't even enter the Liang family's gate. What's the point of talking about watching your daughter grow up? Considering your dedication to doing good and your habit of helping wandering spirits, we too have submitted a report to our superiors and found a body for you, 80% similar to you in your previous life." They pushed the girl in front of them towards me. The girl, munching on an apple, spun around in front of me. "Well, are you satisfied?" Only then did I wipe away my bloody tears and look at her seriously. Slender figure, fair skin, a red teardrop mole at the corner of the eye, exactly like the early 20s version of me. I hesitated. "So if I take over your body, what about you?" I'm sick, incurable, and will die sooner or later. If you find it useful, take it. It's better than me suffering while I'm alive." "What about your parents? What if they recognize that I'm not you?" She shook her head. "I've had a tough life. Raised in an orphanage, no family, the ghost envoy promised me a shop, allowing me to do business in the underworld. I don't want to suffer in life anymore. Hurry and agree. I nodded, tears of gratitude welling up in my eyes as I thanked them. The ghost officer forced me into that body. I curiously examined my own hands. They were warm, no longer cold and reeking of burnt, scorched smell as they used to. The ghost officer took the girl away, and before leaving, he told me, "You only have half a month, Zhou Qi. May you soon understand the cause and effect." Listening to the clear, strong heartbeat, tears welled up in my eyes. Half a month, even half an hour would be enough for me. I missed the child far too much. After they left, I walked out of the cemetery, relying on the information the girl left in her notebook. I found her rental house and stayed there temporarily. That evening, I prepared my resume. The target was the Shengyan Group. After my death, the company founded by Liang Luo. The next morning, I put on a light makeup and changed into a white suit dress. Standing in front of the mirror, even I was a bit dazzled. This look, it's just like the 20-something-year-old me. I smiled at myself. Su Yao, hello. Su Yao's background was that of a top university graduate with an excellent resume and extensive work experience. So entering Shengyan wasn't a difficult task. After passing through multiple rounds of selection, I joined the company a week later. On the day I joined the company, I didn't meet Liang Luo, but Liang Luo had already received my resume early on. My work experience and interests were all written based on myself. Liang Luo had also helped me revise my resume. It was the second year after I graduated. He had me intern by his side, personally guiding me for half a year. Moreover, the photo on this resume is the same as my actual appearance. He wouldn't fail to recognize me. On the day of the welcome party, Liang Luo returned. Colleagues looked at Liang Luo with surprise. "Oh, is that Mr. Liang? He's not going home to be with his wife and kids, but he's specially attending our little event." I quickly turned to look at the tall, slender figure. He was dressed in a custom-made suit, lounging lazily on a leather sofa, his thick eyebrows slightly furrowed. He chatted idly with several high-ranking executives, as if sensing my gaze. Liang Luo lifted his eyelids and looked towards me. I hastily averted my eyes, and my hand holding the wine glass paused, spilling a blotch of wine onto my white shirt. I lowered my eyes, my voice somewhat strained. "Mr. Liang, so young, do you have a wife and children?" She pouted. "Mr. Liang has a child, over 3 years old, from his previous marriage. The current Mrs. Liang is a university professor. Well-educated and polite, with an excellent temperament, she treats Mr. Liang's daughter as her own, often bringing the child to the company to deliver meals to Mr. Liang. Their relationship is very good." I clenched my hands, my voice hoarse. "Are they married?" "I don't know that, but even if they haven't, it's close." A sharp, suffocating pain suddenly crept into my heart, making it hard to breathe. I set down my glass of wine and forced a strained smile. "I'm going to the restroom." I practically fled to the stairwell, not noticing the heavy gaze behind me at all. Sitting on the cold stairs, I became a bit more sober. I shouldn't have come back. My presence is truly superfluous. The crisp sound of thin-soled leather shoes echoed from a distance, slow, yet with an overwhelming sense of pressure. The sound drew closer. I hastily stood up, instinctively wanting to hide, but all around were private rooms. With no way to retreat, I got up and ran towards the end of the corridor, leaving only a back view for the person behind me. "Stop." Liang Luo's voice was deep. I froze in my tracks, my back stiffening. Liang Luo came to a stop behind me, his posture relaxed. "Zhou Qi, you coming back from the dead? Don't you think you owe me a detailed explanation?" I clenched my hands, ready to bolt in my high heels. The next second, Liang Luo grabbed my wrist and pulled me back to his side. I lowered my eyes, not daring to look at him. Liang Luo quietly observed me for a few seconds, his voice laced with teasing. "What? Changed your identity and now you're planning to abandon your husband and child?" I looked down, my gaze falling on the cufflinks on his wrist. Liang Luo didn't like such things. His leisurely nature always made him feel that cufflinks were too rigid. I once gave him a pair. Later, he tossed them into a drawer, and I never saw him wear them. The cufflink before him, however, was understated yet luxurious, clearly chosen with care. His fiancée must really love him. I pulled my hand away, my voice hoarse. "Mr. Liang, you've mistaken me for someone else. I don't know you." Liang Luo's smile faded slightly. He looked at me quietly, his eyes deep, speaking each word deliberately. "Then do you remember, we have a daughter together?" I clenched my hands tightly, nervously swallowing. However, I don't intend to let you see her. A person who gambles with a child's life is not worthy to be a mother, no matter what your purpose is for coming back. I won't let you see her. He still hates me. I opened my cracked, dry lips, but my throat felt as if it were stuffed with cotton, rendering me unable to speak a word. Liang Luo took in my reaction entirely. He calmly averted his gaze and turned to leave. I allowed myself to tug at his sleeve. The last time, Liang Luo, just this once. I won't bother you anymore. Liang Luo, I'm sorry. His shoulders stiffened, and he stopped in his tracks. I was wrong about what happened before, at that time. I thought we wouldn't develop feelings for each other. I thought you wouldn't like this child. I thought that for you, both me and the child weren't important. No one can predict the future. Back then, I never imagined how things would turn out later. Tears fell one by one onto the back of my hand. Thinking of that past, my heart ached as if it were dying. I took a deep breath, but couldn't help the catch in my voice. But I still thank you. Thank you for not hating her. Thank you for raising her. I know you have a fiancé, and she's good with the child, so I'm at ease. Liang Luo quietly watched me. After a long while, he took out a cigarette. In the misty smoke, he looked up at me. A child should be raised by their own parents. Miss Lin's prime years are not meant to be spent raising your child for you. I was stunned. Then it dawned on me. Perhaps he was worried about disturbing their couple's world. So I tentatively suggested. Then I'll take my daughter and move out, giving you some private space. Liang Luo strode out with long strides, his voice calm. That's my daughter. She's not going anywhere. We're also in need of a nanny at home. I quickly followed behind, and just like that, I transitioned from Liang Luo's personal assistant to the nanny in his household. When I returned home with Liang Luo, our daughter was already asleep. I gently pushed the door open and peeked at her through the crack. She lay on her pink princess bed, with cute cartoon characters printed on the sheets and duvet cover. A small pink dinosaur rested beside her pillow. She held the dinosaur in one hand, her other little chubby hand clenched into a fist, her soft hair gently resting against the pillow. Her little belly rose and fell slowly, making my heart melt. I really wanted to hug her, to kiss her little face, but I didn't dare. Afraid of scaring her, I stood there for a long time, tears welling up in my eyes. Turning around, Liang Luo, who had just finished showering, had been standing behind me for who knows how long, his eyes dark and deep. I got caught spying on my daughter. I met his gaze helplessly. Liang Luo walked over to my side and glanced inside. Then he quietly entered the room and crouched by the bed. He tucked his daughter's small hand under the blanket, then he gently stroked his daughter's head, brushing away the strands of hair sticking to her face. After doing everything, he softly closed the door and stood in front of me, like a mother hen guarding her chicks. Zhou Qi, you're not trying to steal my daughter, are you? Do you need to eat children to survive after coming back from the dead? I frowned at him. Liang Luo, are you sick? She's also my daughter. Why would I harm her? I know she's your child. Why are you so excited about it? Liang Luo suppressed his laughter and then picked up the wine glass on the table, slowly swirling it. He stared at the swirling liquid in the glass and said, Zhou Qi, tell me, what are you back for? To see my daughter, and also to see you. But I only have half a month. After that, I will be reincarnated. I haven't had the courage to say these things yet. Liang Luo never raised his head. I quietly watched his eyebrows and eyes falling under his disheveled hair. The words in my heart turned around before I dared to say them. No one burned money for me, and I owe a lot down there. Considering my good behavior, they've specially approved my return to the human world to earn money and repay my debt. And after you've repaid it, he suddenly raised his eyes, half his face hidden in the darkness, his gaze deep. I lowered my eyes. I'll leave once it's repaid. A long silence ensued. The air seemed to freeze. Liang Luo was quite calm. He tilted his head back and drained the glass of wine, his voice as calm as if he were recounting a trivial story. Zhou Qi, I've always hated you. In the first year after your death, the house was covered with talismans and formations. I didn't want you to come home and see our daughter. I always resented how you could abandon everything without warning, leaving without a sound. The child was still so young. How could you bear to leave? I pursed my lips, my fingers drooped weakly. There was no explanation, only silence. At that time, talismans covered the walls of the house, and I stood far outside the door. Through the windows and doors, I saw Liang Luo pacing back and forth in the living room, holding a child who wouldn't stop crying. All night, he wore soft home clothes, carefully cradling the child, feeding, burping, changing diapers, until the child finally fell asleep comfortably. Even if he was extremely busy with work, he would still spend time with his child. From the time they took their first wobbly steps to when they began to babble, he was always there. He never missed a single moment. He taught the child to speak, and the first word he taught was "mama." When the child was able to say "mommy" clearly and completely, Liang Luo was stunned for a long time. Over the years, I knew that Liang Luo treated the child very well. I always knew. Liang Luo leaned against the table, as if lost in memories, and chuckled softly. But later, I didn't hate you anymore. I've forgotten what you look like, and I've forgotten everything between us, the good and the bad, all forgotten. He looked up at me, half joking. So you don't need to feel guilty. Just spend the last bit of time well with the child. Remember to bless me with great wealth when you go back. I finally let go of my heavy heart and smiled at him. All right. Liang Luo nodded, said nothing, and turned to leave. Half a glass of wine, and his steps were already unsteady. I turned and went to the kitchen to make a bowl of hangover soup. Half an hour later, I stood at Liang Luo's door. The bedroom remained unchanged. Liang Luo sat quietly on the sofa, drinking, lost in thought. I stood there with the tray for a long time, and for the first time, I noticed that Liang Luo was no longer young. We had been married for 3 years. After my death, he endured alone for 4 more years, at 35. Faint wrinkles had begun to appear at the corners of his eyes. His gaze also revealed a weariness, no longer resembling the carefree Liang Luo of many years ago. He shed his youthful naivety, growing into a steady and composed man. I often watch him, and when he is silent, an inexplicable sadness fills the air, like a vintage wine. It starts with a rich, aromatic taste, but what lingers is only bitterness. I want to ask him if these years have been hard for him, but some words I can no longer bring myself to say. Ex-wife, why are you looking at me like that? Wanting to reignite old flames, Liang Luo looked up at me, swallowing a mouthful of wine with a smile, old in age but not in heart, still as unreliable as ever. I placed the hangover soup in front of him. It's just that you don't seem as young as you used to be. Liang Luo didn't get angry. He set down his wine glass with a sigh. It's all because of raising your child for you. You stayed down there for 4 years. Do you expect the child to have fed itself? I knew I was in the wrong and remained silent for a long time. Liang Luo got up and took down several thick photo albums from the bookshelf. Take a look yourself. I kept these as evidence, just in case you tried to make trouble. I never mistreated your daughter. Every year, I made sure she was fed well and grew up healthy and plump. I lowered my eyes and accepted the photo albums, murmuring my thanks. That night, I looked through all the photos. Each photo had words written by Liang Luo beneath it. Her daughter's name was Liang Chuying. Liang Luo gave her the name when she was 1 year old, Ing, meaning to have something to lean on. He hoped she would be like a tender sprout breaking through the soil, strong enough even without a mother. I stared for a long time, tears scalding hot. Liang Luo did not mistreat his daughter because of my deception. He would document every little detail of her growth, accompany her to watch cartoons, and do crafts together. He would capture her first steps into kindergarten, encouraging her to be brave. He would decline all business activities related to going out to take care of his daughter, and would quietly tear up when she fell ill. These years of absence, Liang Luo has made up for them all. Liang Luo loves her deeply. The entire night, I lay in the guest bedroom, my heart filled with pain. I dare not tell Liang Luo that I have always been there, watching him teach the children to speak, to read, to make crafts, to ride bicycles. I watched from afar. I missed them, terribly, terribly. The master bedroom separated by a wall was brightly lit. Liang Luo leaned against the sofa, staring at the photo on the marriage certificate, remaining silent for a long time. Glass after glass of wine went down, and Liang Luo's eyes gradually reddened. It was the only photo she had left for him. There was nothing else. She was truly heartless. The next morning, I served 2 breakfasts. For my daughter, I shaped the pancake into the form of a little rabbit, decorated with strawberries and blueberries. She loved little rabbits and enjoyed eating strawberries. In that photo album, Liang Luo recorded it. I had just set down the milk. Taken aback by a warm, soft gaze, a small figure emerged from the bedroom, clutching a small dinosaur, clearly not fully awake, hair tousled into a mess, soft and squishy. She looked at me, suddenly opening her sleepy eyes. She stared at me with utmost seriousness. Then, tears slowly welled up in her big eyes. Her little mouth turned down, and her shoulders trembled gently, as if she had suffered a great injustice. I stood there helplessly, not knowing how she knew I was her mother, nor did I know how to comfort her. When she cried and stretched out her arms toward me, the little dinosaur fell at her feet. She said, "Mommy, hold." Her voice choked with emotion. I could no longer hold back and quickly stepped forward to pick her up, firmly, tightly, not wanting to let go for even a moment. I paced back and forth in the living room with the child in my arms, soothing her over and over again. She leaned against my shoulder, whispering, "Mommy," softly, until she cried herself out of strength. Only then did I realize that she had always known of my existence. She had known even earlier. My entire heart clenched in pain. I couldn't help but kiss her more and stroke her head affectionately. As Liang Luo came downstairs, he happened to see the mother and daughter embracing. In the sunlight, both their hair glistened, and their soft home clothes were warmed by the sun. They both exuded a warm, comforting aura. Liang Luo stared for a long time. For a moment, he was disoriented. The scenes from his dreams had suddenly come to life. Wife, child. Liang Luo pressed his sore eyes and stared at them for a long time. Those things that were never spoken aloud were always there. She merely stood there, and he already felt happiness. As for hatred, it was merely a way to pass the time. As long as she was here, he didn't want to waste his time hating her. The time they had together was truly limited. It should be filled with love, not hatred. Liang Luo turned and went to the study. He made a phone call to Lin Ran, telling her not to come to his house for a while. "But you're busy with work, and Chuying needs someone to keep her company, or she might develop psychological issues." Liang Luo turned the cigarette box in his hand and took out a cigarette, placing it between his lips. I thought about it and decided to put it down. "Lin Ran, I have my own plans." That one sentence left Lin Ran speechless. After a long pause, just as Liang Luo was about to hang up the phone, Lin Ran finally spoke. Her voice trembling, she asked Liang Luo what he had really seen her as over these 3 years, a nanny, a secretary, or just a cook who could make meals. "Liang Luo, did you ever treat me as your fiancé?" Liang Luo was silent for a moment. "When we met for the arranged marriage, I told you that I was looking for a mother for my child, not a wife for myself." He offered a substantial price, shares in a listed company, commercial center property. He promised to fund her laboratory for life. She accepted all of it without question. "Miss Lin, I've been making a deal with you all along. The contract doesn't state that I have to compensate you." Lin Ran's face turned pale, and she couldn't utter a single word. After a long while, she choked out, "Yes, I understand, Mr. Liang." Liang Luo simply hung up the phone. When Liang Luo came downstairs, the mother and daughter were already seated at the dining table. Chu Ying's hair was beautifully braided. She herself was quite pleased and kept admiring herself in the mirror. It wasn't until Liang Luo couldn't stand it anymore that he spoke up. "Hurry up and eat. I still need to take you to school later." Chewing obediently put down the mirror and looked at Liang Luo with pleading eyes. "Dad, do you have to take me today?" I was taken aback and met Liang Luo's gaze. Liang Luo was eating a sandwich and raised an eyebrow at her words. "Don't want me to take you?" The little one quickly grabbed her dad's big hand and gently rubbed her cheek against it. "Hee, Dad, you're so hardworking. Let Mom take me today." Liang Luo remained unmoved. Chu Ying's face scrunched up, and she almost started crying. "All the other kids have their moms taking them, but I don't." I felt a pang in my heart and was about to agree immediately. Liang Luo swallowed hard, then asked me, "Can you drive?" I shook my head. As Su Yao, I don't have a driver's license yet. In the end, it was Liang Luo who drove us to the kindergarten. The little one was even happier, holding my hand with one and Liang Luo's with the other. He skipped and jumped towards the kindergarten gate. Along the way, he greeted many other children. "Good morning, these are my mommy and daddy." The other kids were very supportive. "Your mommy is so pretty." The little one looked up at me, her face flushed red. Shyly hiding behind me, Liang Luo couldn't help but laugh. "Why are you shy when I'm praising your mom?" The more Liang Luo teased her, the more she burrowed into my embrace. Seeing just the top of her head with her little braid peeking out, my heart melted. Before leaving, Chuying wouldn't let go. She clung tightly to my neck, holding back her tears. "Mommy, wait for me at home. I'll come back to be with you as soon as I finish school." Her voice couldn't hide the choking sob. I hugged her and gently patted her head. "I'm not leaving. Didn't you say you wanted to see what your mother left for you? Your mother will go back to get it, and you can see it when you get home." She finally left reluctantly. As soon as she turned around, Liang Luo stared at me for a long time. I continued speaking to myself. there are many things I left for Chuying at my place. I promised to give them to her. The accident came unexpectedly at that time. I didn't even get a chance to hand over the items to Liang Luo, even the child. I could only tell Liang Luo about through a dream. Fortunately, he believed me. If it had been any later, the child would have starved to death. At that time, Liang Luo was holding the baby, frantically trying to prepare the formula. The child wailed in his arms. He lay on the sofa, staring blankly at the postpartum depression diagnosis. Liang Luo's mother said I had committed suicide. I took a lot of sleeping pills. Liang Luo didn't take a close look at my corpse. It's a good thing he didn't look closely. My body was charred, my fingers were broken, the flesh on my leg was pierced by steel, and from my calf to my knee, the bones were exposed and flipped outward. I didn't commit suicide, though. It was a car accident while I was out buying milk powder for my daughter at night. It was a truck loaded with steel, fortunately. Liang Luo's mother had someone watching me and took care of my body after I was in the accident. Afraid that Liang Luo would be traumatized, she hired the best mortician to restore my appearance. Therefore, Liang Luo always believed that I had committed suicide. In the dream, Liang Luo interrogated me repeatedly. Each time, I did not deny it. I admit that I can't explain the bankruptcy of our family company, and I also admit that I don't want him or the child anymore. Hating me will allow him to move on more quickly. After finishing a cigarette, Liang Luo turned to look at me. Let's go, I'll take you there. I came back to my senses. The key I hid under the shoe rack was still there, just a bit rusty. Even the door lock bore the marks of time. The moment I pushed the door open, dust flew everywhere. I stepped into the room. This house was filled with the daily moments of my life with my child. I picked up a cassette tape and showed it to Liang Luo. This is the music I used for the baby's prenatal education. Every time it played, she would kick around happily. Those were toys I bought to help the child sleep. It's such a pity they were never used. I crouched down to look at the unopened delivery boxes by the sofa, feeling a sharp pang of regret over the money spent. Finally, I walked into the room and gazed at the pile of pink baby clothes, sighing. They were never even worn. Liang Luo followed silently behind me the entire time, saying nothing. I was afraid he'd get angry, so I hurriedly rummaged through the cabinets and found a small box. Clutching it tightly to my chest, Liang Luo raised an eyebrow, holding it so tightly. Of course, all my life's jewelry and accessories are in this box. What are you hiding? Without looking back, I walked out. My daughter's dowry. I was truly afraid he might covet it, ready to step past him and leave. Suddenly, Liang Luo frowned and reached out to grab me. I took 2 steps back, my leg hitting the corner of the bed, and I fell to the ground. Pain made me wince. It wasn't until Liang Luo panicked and pressed a handkerchief to my nose that I realized I was bleeding. Liang Luo held my nose with one hand and helped me stand up with the other. The blood soaked his handkerchief. Yet it showed no sign of stopping. Liang Luo's voice was hoarse. To the hospital. We raced all the way and finally reached our destination. The nurse stopped the bleeding with cotton balls. Stepping out of the hospital, Liang Luo remained silent. I wanted to comfort him. It doesn't hurt, really. The wounds on my body have been there since I died. For so many years of pain, this bone pain, fever, and nosebleeds are all just minor inconveniences to me. But when I look into Liang Luo's deep eyes, I can't bring myself to say anything. I'll take you to see a specialist. This illness isn't incurable. I reached out and held his hand, my voice soft. Liang Luo, it's not because of this illness that I can't live, but my time in this world is limited, and I will die no matter what. During the last stretch of time, I want to spend more time with the children, and with you. I don't want to go to the hospital. Is it okay? Liang Luo swallowed hard, and after a long silence, he spoke. His voice hoarse and strained. When are you leaving? I lowered my eyes, avoiding his gaze, my voice as light as dust. In half a month. There are still 13 days left now. Liang Luo said nothing, just held my hand tightly. Late November, the weather was very cold. We walked slowly like that. No one spoke. That night after returning home, I had my daughter try on each piece of jewelry one by one. She was very pleased, walking around the room in her little high heels, unable to hide her joy. Liang Luo was in the study handling documents. When my daughter and I arrived, he was instructing his secretary to push back all the work schedules. As soon as he looked up, he saw me and the child smiling at him from the doorway. He stopped working and walked to the door, smiling as he kissed my forehead. Our daughter fussed at his side. What about me? What about me? Liang Luo picked her up, and she cupped my face with her tiny hands. gently kissing my forehead. We nestled together. That year, it was the best of times. Liang Luo set aside his company affairs and took my daughter and me on a trip. We went to Norway to see the snow. On the way, we encountered reindeer and sled dogs. Chuying was particularly excited, leaning against the car window to greet the reindeer. Liang Luo said the Christmas atmosphere there was very strong, so we stayed and celebrated a traditional Christmas with our neighbors. It was a stroke of luck that we saw the aurora on the day after Christmas. Liang Luo found the perfect viewing spot. Our family of 3 watched the aurora borealis in the snow. In the night sky, half of it resembled a luxurious skirt, light, graceful, facing beautiful things. People are always moved to tears. I watched everything in front of me, tears falling silently. Liang Luo held my hand, his eyes also a bit red at the corners. Chuying was so captivated by the aurora that she was completely mesmerized, her head tilted upward, small, foolish. I glanced at Liang Luo. And neither of us spoke. Parting is inevitable, yet I wished for it to be slower, even slower. It's really hard to pull away from them. In the last week, Liang Luo asked me where I wanted to go. I said I wanted to go somewhere warm, with a sea. There is a beach. I said I wanted to wear a beautiful dress and pick shells with my daughter by the sea. Liang Luo said okay. And so, my daughter and I have photos of ourselves on the beach, wearing beautiful dresses. Liang Luo followed behind us, his gaze always chasing our backs. He quietly collected many photos of us. In the final 3 days, I told Liang Luo that I wanted to find a photographer to take photos. Liang Luo raised an eyebrow. Why look for someone else when you already have me? I shook my head. I want to take a family photo of the 3 of us. Liang Luo gazed at the calm sea, remaining silent for a long time, until the night breeze stirred my skirt. Again and again, it brushed against his trouser leg. Liang Luo lowered his eyes and responded softly to me. He said okay. That day, it took the makeup artist a long time to cover up the exhaustion on my face. I also clearly knew that the days were running out. Every time I see Liang Luo alone, raising the child, enduring everything slowly by himself, I can't help but shed tears. I selfishly want more, want to stay with them longer, but I can't. So I wanted to leave behind a photograph, even if it's just an eternal moment. The night before I left, I put my daughter to sleep. I handed my phone to Liang Luo, which contained many videos. It's the birthday video I prepare for my daughter every year. There are so many things I want to tell her, forever and ever. It will never be enough. I begged Liang Luo to keep it safe and play it on her birthday every year. Liang Luo looked at me for a long time, my emaciated, pale face reflected in his pupils. His eyes were sunken, his lips blanched. Zhou Qi, he suddenly called out to me softly. The voice was harsh, making one's heart ache. For the first time, he looked at me, his eyes deep and filled with unspoken pain. What about me? What do you want to say to me? I pursed my lips, many words on the tip of my tongue but too afraid to speak. He has a fiancé. I cannot leave anything behind for him. He needs to move forward, to have a wife and children of his own someday. I can't selfishly live in his memories. It wouldn't be fair to anyone. I shook my head. Liang Luo, move forward. I heard his phone call with Lin Ran that day, but I could only pretend not to know. Our relationship remains at this point, unable to delve deeper, afraid he won't forget, and afraid I won't be able to leave. A long time passed. Finally, Liang Luo nodded. He said yes. We sat in silence, gazing at the sea, a pitch-black void. The night wind tangles between us. Many regrets can no longer be spoken. We have never spoken of love between us. Before, there was no time to say it. Now, we dare not say it, both afraid of longing, both afraid of entanglement too deep, so they kept it all inside, afraid to speak, and terrified of hearing the echo. The next day, the sun was bright and clear, warmer and more intense than ever before. After lunch, I told Liang Luo that I wanted to go to the beach to soak up some sun. The parting was imminent. Everyone was sad. Liang Luo stared deeply into my eyes, unwilling to look away for a moment. I lay on the recliner, my daughter playing with sand beside me. Liang Luo stood by my side. The warmth on my skin made me feel drowsy, but I knew this sleep would never end. I forced myself to stay conscious, wanting to look at them a little longer, but eventually, my eyes could no longer stay open. I trembled as I clutched Liang Luo's fingers. My fingertips were icy cold. Liang Luo quickly realized what was happening and crouched down beside me. His large, dry, and warm hand gently stroked my hair with patience. Again and again, as if trying to smooth over past grievances. Zhou, have a good rest. Both I and the child will be fine. I closed my eyes in peace. Liang Luo stood beside me for a long time. A single tear slipping down the corner of his eye, he lowered his head. And a gentle kiss landed on my cheek. Zhou, I love you, deeply. After Zhou left, Liang Luo had the tomb repaired, carved the words anew. For the first time, he took his daughter to visit Zhou. He told his daughter that this was the new home where her mother lived. His daughter was very well behaved, not crying or making a fuss, and tiptoed to kiss the photo on the tombstone. As they left, Liang Luo held his daughter's hand and looked back. No breeze would ever again brush away the ash from his clothes. Zhou was no longer here. She no longer had to endure this suffering. She was always afraid of the cold and hunger. Now she finally didn't have to stay here anymore. That's good, that's what Liang Luo thought. He turned around and carried his daughter out. In the first year after Zhou's death, their daughter cried incessantly. After visiting every hospital without success, Liang Luo had no choice but to cover their home with talismans. It was then that he realized Zhou's lingering attachment was strong, unwilling to leave them. He knew she was suffering, bent fingers, charred skin, flesh torn open to reveal white bones. He knew it all. He sought out a monk to perform a ritual for her deliverance, but her obsession was deep, unwilling to leave. He knew she was in pain, knew she was cold. He deliberately avoided looking at her, didn't burn money for her. He wanted to use this method to make her reincarnate as soon as possible. But she stayed for 4 years. Every time she came to him in his dreams, he dared not open his eyes. With every glance, his heart bled. How much pain she must have endured. When his daughter asked, "Why doesn't that auntie go home?" Liang Luo knew she truly existed, not because of a delusion born from excessive longing. She was truly there. He just couldn't see her. Zhou must not have known that the day he carried his daughter away. He asked a question. He said, "Tell daddy what that auntie was doing." His daughter thought for a moment. She was crying. She was crouching behind the sign, wearing a torn dress, and she looked very cold. His heart clenched in pain. I don't know how to make her leave. Fortunately, heaven granted her a chance for them to reunite and understand each other's hearts. She can finally leave without any lingering attachments. That's enough. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.